So I was cleaning out my office a few weeks ago, and I came across this drawer filled with old name tags and lanyards from events that I'd been a part of. Corporate stuff, some church conferences, big meetings, and inside was these name tags that I had carried around and worn to get into all the special things and throw them in a bag when it's over, get back home and just toss them in a drawer. It was fascinating to go through and look at the name tags and remember where I was and where they took place, what happened. Some are so fancy, laminated with my name in bright lights of Reverend, and some are, on cardboard written with Sharpies. I didn't know what to make of all of them, and finally I decided it was time for them to go. But as I tossed them out, trying to figure out what these name tags meant, I started to think about naming of myself, naming of my kids, and naming of God. What is in a name? And what is in the name of God? It's a question that's stuck with me because it's part of our DNA, part of our alignment as humans, and a part of the Christian experience to participate in the ongoing naming of God. This thing, though, it's tricky. It takes a lot of creativity, and it also presents some problems. For instance, one philosopher says it like this: whenever we say God, we actually say less than God. It's kind of like the word justice. We name something as just and good and right and true, but we always know that there's something slightly less than just that happened in the event. Or the word democracy. We say, hey, we aim at this is democracy, but whenever we name it and say we've got it right, almost instantly we can name those who are left out of the connection, who can't fully participate, and how democracy hasn't arrived yet. All of these things help add to the understanding of pulling us forward. Justice, but not quite justice. Democracy, but not fully democratic. Helps us point to a new hope, a new opportunity. And the same thing happens when we name God, that it's less than God, but is trying to pull us forward. The name denomination comes from this idea of naming God. It's French in its root, and it means to clearly define. So we've clearly defined that there are over 600 denominations in the U.S., all aptly naming and understanding the worship of the one true God, but none of us landing in exactly the same place. My thought is maybe we should stop using D in the French sense, denomination, but use the Latin, like the word deconstruct or denounce. It means to undo or unname. What would it look like for us to open up the possibility of what is in the name of God? What does it mean to name God? What would it do for us to give possibilities for a better future if we played with some concepts and metaphors about who God is? Part of naming God is sometimes placed in acting as God as an object. We define the thing or the person out there. But part of that is subjective, that God has a relationship and an interaction with us. And the object versus subject is a very different naming. Yet other theologians and other philosophers want to name the event. What happens in between the two of us? And naming the power that lights up the whole house, or the ground that supports our being. These names of God provide for an entirely different understanding. And the practice of all this naming and unnaming of God, is the Christian practice. For the next few weeks in the Loft, that's what we're going to point at. This naming and unnaming of God, this unfolding and folding up of our understanding of who the divine is. To cap it all off, at the end of this series, we have one of the preeminent theologians of our time, Dr. John Cobb, who is going to be joining us here at the church for a series based on his new book, Jesus' Abba, the God who has not failed. I'm more excited about this series and event than anything I've been excited about in a long time. It is a culmination of a lot of effort and a lot of planning to make these things come to light, and I hope you will come and participate with us in the Loft. Worship starts at 10 a.m. That's when our gatherings are. There's a class that follows called Follow Up. come be a part of the conversation. I think you might learn a lot and gain something in the perspective of who God is.